The Good Samaritan. This exercise is inspired from the lines of a blog written from our friend and colleague, John Norton, who wrote, "Sometimes living in the kingdom can be just as simple as giving a person a kind word or a cup of cold water." Now, you and I, don't we all have interruptions in our day? So the Good Samaritan is a good example of this. He was likely on his destination and he encountered this very needy person. It was not going to be an easy fix, something that would cost him time, effort, and his own money. So we can understand perhaps why the others might have just walked on by thinking, "Oh, that guy, he doesn't need my help," or "Somebody else might be able to help him. I'm too busy, I don't have time for this." But the most unlikely one of them all, the Samaritan, stopped to help. And this is an exceptional situation, but when you and I face interruptions that require us, how do we respond? What's our first go-to? So the biblical account of this story begins like this: that one day the experts of religious law loved to question Jesus, and they were questioning Jesus, trying to find a flaw with what he would be teaching. And the conversation wasn't going well for them, so they thought they'd trick him with a question by saying, "Well, who is my neighbor, Jesus?" And he replies with this following parable and just nails it. Now, bear in mind, the religious leaders of that day would have likely awakened in the morning with a psalm, something like this psalm in chapter 5, verse 3, where it says, "In the beginning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I will order my prayer to you and eagerly watch." In other words, they were preparing for how they would see God in the day-to-day and be able to serve him. So you can imagine the priest, the Levite, and the Samaritan, likely all having read this prayer or a very similar prayer, and praying along the lines of, "Lord, I will watch and see how you may be leading me today." Perhaps you and I pray that very prayer ourselves. But look at the differing responses when they all walk down the same path and see the very same thing. The Samaritan man would have been considered more of an outcast to the religious elite, which is exactly why Jesus used him as the key character of this parable. So in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37, we read, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers, and they stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side of the road. So to a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him, he bandaged his wounds, he poured oil and wine on him. Then he put the man on his own donkey and brought him to an inn for them to look after him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave it to the innkeeper and said, 'Look after him.' He said, 'And when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense that you may have incurred.'" So we're going to take that story and go into an individual reflection time. Just on your own, we're going to exercise something called Ignatian prayer. So when we do Ignatian contemplation, we place ourselves in this biblical scene ourselves, and we try to become part of it by using our biblically sound imaginations that God gave us. We might picture ourselves as one of the main characters in this Bible story. Try to imagine what we might see, what we might smell and feel and hear, and what the other persons in the scene might be doing. Just picture this scenario. In doing this, we try to draw some practical fruit from the reflection of our own life today. What difference will it make in our everyday lives that we have encountered God through this scripture passage? Focus on the words of Jesus, and as you do, consider the ways your life would be changed if you heard Jesus say these very words to you. So reflect on the passage of the Good Samaritan, and imagine yourself as the person who is attacked, as the person walking by on the other side of the road, And then also as the Good Samaritan, as you imagine yourself as each person, what would you feel, see, taste, smell, envision? What would God want to teach you through your connection with each of these characters? So we are going to do some reflection questions following this. In general, how is the life I walk seen? How do others see me? Is there a time when you and I have walked by somebody in need, like the priest or the Levite did, and that really stuck in your heart? You remember it? You know it? Why has this particular instance done that? What is God saying or bringing to your attention, to you, because of this? Where might God be calling you to be the Samaritan in your place of work, your family, your community, wherever you may be? And finally, I love to ask this question. Jesus, what else do you want to show me? As always, journal your thoughts so you don't forget them. Let your pen connect with your heart and write it out. And always thank Jesus for what he's shown you and for this opportunity to be in his word. God bless you as you journey with the Good Samaritan. Thank you.